about them. So those are something that I think has been something new that's really beneficial this year for us.
Our season has been interesting because since our season's founding, we've been hosted by the Fayetteville Free Library. We were coached by their staff, and we met in their facility. They have a very nice piece. And we were funded by them. This year they told us mid-off he's not going to be able to coach you, and we're dropping half of your funding. So we had to find new coaches and funding, and have had to find ways to meet remotely because we cannot meet in the library yet. But it's gone surprisingly well, considering that. To Karina's point, the virtual scrimmages have been very useful because they force us to do driver practice rather than waiting until the night before tournament day.
Oh, there's that.
No, I agree. I feel like this year, because everything's virtual, it's made us stop procrastinating and kind of work in advance. But I'm gonna let some other people from my team talk about why our season was interesting.
So our season was really interesting because we have a larger team, so it's really hard to get the whole team together, especially with the restrictions and stuff right now.
Can't hear him.
1 second, I'm gonna bring the computer over to him. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right. So we've had a really interesting season this year. So we have a pretty large team. We have like 10 people on our team. So it's been really hard to meet with everybody at the same time. So we've been making a lot of time. So like what we do is we've had like certain people build on the robot. They come at one time. People who program, they come at a certain other time. And then people who work on other stuff, they come at a separate time. So that way it keeps everyone more risk-free, and it's more comfortable for everybody. And the scrimmage has been really helpful as well, as you guys stated. Usually we never practice as much driving in general, but it's helped a lot. It's made our driving skills a lot better.
I like your nerds of a feather thing, by the way. So in Corning, it's been really hard because Corning Incorporated, they own the room that we meet in, and there are normally 3 FTC teams, 10 FLL teams, and 10 junior FLL teams that meet in that space all at the same time. And I run the room for all of them. And Corning Incorporated told us after lockdown wasn't a thing for everybody, we could have 2 people and 2 adults in the room at any time. So out of 120 kids that want to get in the room, 2 can. And if they can't be in there for more than 3 hours, and then there has to be a 2-hour space in between so that the HEPA filters can actually clean out the room. And then the next team can come in after the first team has disinfected the room. The next team can come in for 3 hours. And that's gone on since September. We were allowed to do a virtual, well, we called it the semi-live zombie stumble in reveal, where because we could have all the doors open and everybody of course was wearing masks, and we had the cleaning staff come in 3 times, we could have 1 team in at a time for a half an hour to look at the field and look at the elements, and everybody got a game element and left. But outreach has been really, really hard. Our whole team has done 95% of the work online. But what we did do is we utilized like their CADing skills and stuff like that to make ourselves available to community schools that were having trouble getting ready to open up for the school year. So we made PVC dividers for, we CADed out dividers and then 3D printed rings to make these huge lunchroom table dividers that then we put on the internet. It saved the school that we were doing. They were going to spend almost $8,000 for plexiglass dividers in the lunchroom. and we did the whole project of the whole school for $700, and then we put everything out online. But that's kind of it. That was like the only thing that we could come up with. So I'm really interested to what everybody else is doing, because
That sounds amazing. I definitely outreach online has been really difficult, and fundraising. The person who does most of the fundraising on the team isn't here right now, but he and the outreach team have really had a lot of difficulty figuring out events to do. Our outreach team, we planned out some events online for like STEM and stuff, but it's not the same as doing it in person. Like last year, we had a STEM day in our local library where we invited kids to come in and we let them try different STEM activities and play around with the robot.
yeah.
And I think the hands-on element is really what gets kids interested. But when everything's online, it's really hard for them to get like motivated. So one thing that we did to kind of get them in the spirits of like playing along, what we did is we had a STEM night over Zoom. And instead of having hands-on activities, we had like Kahoots and different quizzes, and we had a presentation about people in STEM. Yeah. And then I think the thing that really got them interested in actually listening is that there was a few prizes going around, and if you answered the questions, you'd get the prizes. So that kind of kept them listening. But yeah, definitely it was a hard season for outreach.
Yeah, outreach has been a lot harder, but the one thing that I am in some sense liking about the outreach this season is it does facilitate Zoom meetings like this, which has two advantages that I see. One is that we get to meet teams that we wouldn't otherwise from other regions. And the other is, at least in my experience, whenever we host it or go to a scrimmage or a tournament or whatever, I don't see that I don't find that there's usually a huge amount of inter-team interaction, because every team is, finishing that one last thing on their robot that they have to, have 5 minutes to do before their match. And then the other last thing. Whereas something like this, it does, I think, facilitate perhaps conversation more easily, which I think is helpful.
I agree, Isaiah. One of the things that we've done is in using Onshape, like when we locked down, I told our teams, I'm like, everybody's going to learn Onshape. I don't care what you do in the next 10 weeks. You got no school to go to. We're doing this. And then we've actually used that as an outreach to teach other kids, and I want to use it to find a junior team in Syracuse or Fayetteville or someplace, maybe an inner city team that wouldn't have the coaching staff that we have, that I can just say, okay, freshmen, you're going to run this class. You just went through it with us. Now you're going to go through it with somebody else. And the team then would come away, the young team would come away with a CADed drivetrain, which means that they could start the school year. And you could do these as camps. That's kind of what we were thinking maybe for the summer, doing Zoom camps. I don't know if that's anything that anybody else would be interested in hanging out with, but we could actually team with a Pennsylvania team and a Fayetteville team and be like, all right, this week we're doing this, and
That
then
sounds
next
amazing.
Wouldn't that be a hoot?
Interesting, yeah.
I got to stay in contact with you guys. That would be great. I really do think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, summer camps are great. So being able to do them, especially with more kids from further away, I think would be really something that I would definitely love helping with or participating in, on either side of it, really. Because there's always something to learn and there's always something to teach.
I guess the one thing that is difficult about an online summer camp is unless you're sending out kits or something, you have to be able to teach something virtual. But Onshape is a really good tool that could be taught virtually. I hadn't thought about that. That is.
Also, for younger kids, you could use Tinkercad, which also does circuits. And, for the nerds among us, of which there are really none, right? None of us are that.
Oh,
but they also
definitely.
have Arduino, Tinkercad also has Arduino, simulators. So the kids could be like, all right, we can't go play with the Arduino kits, but we can simulate them and go through them. I'm trying to find a simulated FLL robot. I know there are ones that you can buy, but I don't really want to do. I don't like to pay money because I'm cheap.
There's definitely there's definitely a there is an app that we use to build Lego robots online. I don't know if it allows them to function, but we use, what's it called?
The Lego Designer.
Yeah, the Lego Designer Studio.
Okay. Yeah.
There's Lego Digital Designer, but there's also Studio, and apparently it's just the dot. Okay. It's just called Studio.
Put it in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be good. I want to look at the chat because I want to know that.
In the chat.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been talking a lot about outreach being difficult and like having all these other ways to work on like how we could have outreach with other kids and like these things online. But then there's also the element of like robot building and the programming part, which you really can't do everything online. You kind of have to do some stuff hands-on. And we have some of our robot building team and programming team. So they're going to talk about the challenges they faced. I'm more of an outreach girl. So
So me and Sake right over here, we are the CAD team right now. Oh, okay. So this year we used Autodesk Inventor. Even though we're not a school affiliated team, our school was kind enough to give us a free trial of Autodesk Inventor for a year. So we took advantage of that, started using it.
Yeah, we found Autodesk much easier than Onshape as like we learned it in school, so it was easier to like learn all the.
hear you.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
you
can.
come
closer.
You can come here. Yeah, go ahead, both of you.
Go, yeah. No,
Yeah,
get in
start
the
over.
middle of the camera, bro.
So we are me and Sake right over here. We're the CAD team of our team right now, and we use Autodesk Inventor to design our robot. Basically, we didn't really need to learn this during our season since our school, even though we're not like a school affiliated, they gave us a free trial of Autodesk Inventor, and we learned from our teachers at school.
Yeah, and it was also pretty easy. It was also easier to communicate between us because we both met frequently, and it was easier just to use Autodesk where we could just download the parts and then constrain them.
Yeah, there were some challenging aspects to this season regarding CAD. Most of the time, we really needed to have a visual of the robot like right in front of us to do this. But then this year, with all the stuff that's been going around, we had to take pictures, and pictures were kind of new to us regarding how we do our CAD design. So we had to go through, figure some stuff out.
Yeah, you guys can do more.
Yeah.
Okay. You can introduce me.
Yeah, okay.
It's on.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, so I'm the CAD team. I mean, I'm the building. I build I'm part of the building team, and I also drive the robot for competitions. And so some of the challenges that we faced as builders is we didn't get to see a lot of other people's robots and get ideas from it and see what other people were doing, because that was a main thing. We'd go to competitions, we'd see what they're doing, and then we get some inspiration from that. Although you can still see some designs on YouTube and online, that was still one challenge that we faced.
And then for programming, I didn't really face any challenges here. I feel like because it's we kind of just come and program and you test it, so like it's kind of the same. It's just you don't have as many people around you. I feel like it was more calm this year for me, at least.
In programming, did you find that it was hard if the robot broke to have to wait for builders to come in? I don't know if you heard that.
I'm so sorry. Our laptop is glitching out. Could you repeat it?
So sometimes in the past, we'd always have a builder in when the programmer was programming. So when the robot invariably broke, the programmer could fix it. But this year we weren't allowed to do that. So our programmers actually had to learn to fix. So they actually had to know. And I was just wondering if you guys ran into anything like that.
We ran into that. We ran into that a bunch of times this year. Like we have one attachment that would break probably every time I programmed. So I'm really good at fixing that part now. So like it takes me like first took me like 20 minutes. Now it takes me like 3 minutes. It's all I need to fix it now. So yeah, I faced that a bunch of times.
We're writing a lot of our software remotely. We have it centralized in a GitHub repository, so we can make changes remotely and then test them in meetings. And the advantage of that is that we can write the software whenever we want to on our own time. So we have much more time to write software than we normally would. The disadvantage is when we're writing the software, we cannot test it. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a mystery until we get to the meeting and then there's an error. And then next week we have to look up the error and say, okay, we have to fix this for next meeting. So it's a trade-off there. I feel like it's given us more of an advantage than a disadvantage this year, but that's just my feeling.
So I have a question for all the coaches and other kids here. I heard one of you guys said it's a disadvantage not being able to see the other robots. And one of the outreach ideas that I was going to bring is, boy, it would be great if we had a Zoom meet like this of, it's October, bring what you got. And that can be, and if we're coming from other regions, like I know we compete with the suits or against the suits. I don't know, we're in the same region, but it would be really cool to be able to look at robots that, wow, I never thought of doing it that way. And you might go away snickering going, yeah, I'm not doing it that way. That's not going to happen. But you might go like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Or I never thought of that. Or when the idea that we have bombs, we might pull out like, Nerds of a Feather's idea, because that was really cool. And then we'd acknowledge them in our notebook and acknowledge them in our, our meeting or our judging interviews to say, hey, we worked with them and those nerds, they're smart. They got this thing going that we just had to use. So I would love to keep in contact with the people in some of these groups, because I think my kids would really benefit. And plus, we've decided, because our meetings are so much more efficient, there's no way we're going back to everybody being in the room every time, because it's way better when the kids that don't spend time well in the robot room are sitting online catting or watching the build remotely. And then they're like, no, I want to go build. So then you're like, okay, well, where's your part that you want to put on the robot? And it gets we got a lot more done in a lot less time. But I'd like to do this. I could put them in a breakout room with some like smart people from Pennsylvania, because you guys always see the best robots anyway. Let's be honest. And just kind of show them off. I think that'd be cool.
And I think we always had, we have a couple of other teams close by. They come in, we go there and we work with each other. We do compete each other, but we still work together as help each other teams very well. So currently in our league, we were 1 and 2 currently with both teams, whichever we collaborate, and our robots are totally different too. But each way, the way we do is a little different, but there are some challenges where they're a little stronger in some of the areas like a design, like a robot building, and we are a little bit stronger in like programming, and we help each other teams to get better each time. And then there is a lot of new kids coming into the teams, so that also helps them go and watch them and what are the other improvements can be made by looking at each other. We work that collaboratively. So we don't really worry about competing each other, but we do help each other a lot.
Yeah, and I would totally agree on the small groups sort of thing. Coming from a larger team and now only having 2 other people in total, the less people trying to do the same thing at once, I think the faster it gets done, because you have less like everyone knows they want the same goal, but everyone has a different like order of how they want to attach to things, and so the less discussion you have to have about how you're going to get it done, the faster you can get it done. And so I think either with just having small subsets there at a time or doing it like we do and just not getting more people. That's been something that I think has made us work decently quickly, especially for a newbie team.
Yeah, we had a big team last year. We had 14 of them. Now this year is 10. We do a lot of times we do ask them to do two different ways come up, and then you guys see which one is the better way to go with them.
I think the biggest challenge that our team has had is not being able to physically touch the robot. Only one person has physical access to the robot. But what we did do is we had a second person take a bunch of parts in order to do one component of it, the shooting mechanism. So that was one way to resolve that. But without a place to do this, without a physical location to do this, it's being done in the basement of one of the team members. So that's the biggest issue is it's in a cramped basement, and he's got all the parts and the robot, and when he's not available, the robot's not available. So we don't really have a way around that.
Had two drivers in the same room at the same time yet, so
right. Right.
So,
and
so
scoring
Coach,
is
how
not
does
easy
that
either.
mean? What does that mean for like sustainability for your team? So basically only one kid's hands are on the bot, right?
It's a problem right now because the school's remote, the library's been remote, everything's been completely remote. There hasn't been in-person anything. Yeah. So there hasn't been a way to physically do it any other way. We haven't had access to any physical locations. So now some places are slowly creeping open, but we don't know how much that will change things.
Yeah.
But even if it does reduce our effectiveness this year, I do think that the skills we're learning and being forced to do things in such a different way this year will advantage us in the long term. That's why I feel like it is a good idea for members to switch between one team and another at some point in their, I'll say, first career, even though usually that's something that maybe not the most pleasant thing, but it breaks all your preconceptions on how things are to be done, or I never thought to do this in a different way. I thought that was just how everyone did it. And meeting remotely this year and having completely new coaches and stuff is, I think, doing that for us.
Yeah, and I think that's where like CADing and all this virtual stuff really helped us. Usually we had one team and they would always do the robot and the programming, and then we have another team CADing, and they'd work together, but they'd also kind of work separately. And the pandemic has kind of forced them to work together so that they can understand what's going on. And this has allowed like the majority of the team to understand what's going on with the robot. And even if we're not all allowed to touch the robot, like we know what's going on. So if someone needs to fix it, like last minute, we have anyone that can like be able to pop it up.
So we've done that as well. Like I think that our team has a way better holistic view of the robot this year. Part of that is because we were only allowing 2 kids in the room at once, and I have 3 high-powered seniors that are going to leave at the end of this year. And they were like, we'll just build the robot. And I was like, no, because then I won't have a builder next year. So it's a freshman or 2 freshmen or a freshman and a senior. And it's really, really funny when there's 2 freshmen in there and the seniors are phoning in, basically zooming in going, no, not that part. You need the other part over there. It's kind of a NASA thing where they're like, okay, you've got duct tape and you've got this and a square thing that's got to fit in a round hole. It's really hilarious to watch, but it set up some rules on our team, which I'm just going to throw out there for you guys. We aren't allowed, our build team isn't allowed to make a change going, oh no, we'll just put it over here until it's CAD'd out and flown in. So what that means is, dude, we've just checked it. It fits. We know it'll work. Now do it. Or, yeah, no, you can't do that because you're forgetting about, we want to put odometry pods there next week. And, you know, and in the CAD, you can see all that. But on the physical robot, you're like, yeah, there's space. Just throw it in here. And usually we build the jankest robot because you're like, just throw it on, a little duct tape, some zip ties. They'll be good. Come on, we'll fix it in version 2. And then, you know, version 2 never gets done. And you're going to your championship going, yeah, that duct tape, well, that's on there because of something that happened in September, you know. So we're doing a lot more phoning in, zooming in, going, well, we have a camera that sits above the build station on a tripod. So like everybody can see what's going on. And we have one of the coaches just adjusting that all the time to make sure that the kids at home are able to see what's going on. And then the two that are building. And one of them is telling the other one, how do you know, you can't use that screw. It's got to be a button head, you know. And it drives the seniors nuts until somewhere around December, when all of these freshmen had skills then. And they were like, hey, wait, you already know how to do that. This is great. So, you know, it's another pandemic plus.
No, yeah, I think a lot of the things coming out of pandemic, it seems so like surreal now, and it's kind of annoying, but I'm pretty sure we'll definitely be using a lot of the tips and like tricks that we've learned next year, kind of like working over Zoom when someone can't come in, or having less hands working on something, but more people critiquing it and working on it together. So as long as the pandemic has caused a lot of trouble and like issues and anger with our team, but it really is like helping us become a stronger team. And I think it's going to help us compete better this year and like going on forwards. Okay, well, we have our robot here. We're kind of in our workspace, so we'd love to just show you guys. And if you guys have your robot nearby or anything, you guys can show us. So I'm gonna mute myself, and I'm gonna unmute that camera so you guys can see our robot over there.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that field you can see it, right? Yeah, you can guys drive on top of it. I hope so.
Let us know, is the view okay? Can you guys see the field and everything?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
Put it where Sid is.
Sorry, we're just adjusting it so that you guys can have a better view of it.
Yeah, perfect. I'm looking at the screen right now.
Oh, yeah, she came back there. Yeah, you knew it. Yeah. right, then let's.
Kita kok berapa buat?
Sorry about that. I hope you got to see our robot. Well, if you guys have any questions, please let us know. Sorry about the view. We have our driver and our programmer just kind of like butting heads to see if someone can get the goal, but also drive the robot. It's all over the place.
So it looks like Nerds of the Feather have theirs too. Can we see yours?
I'll have Krita come over and demonstrate our robot, and we actually have a video from yesterday that we can show too.
No, we don't want to show video.
We don't want to show the video? Okay, sorry.
This is our robot, I guess. It's a robot. It has clamps because they work better.
Called Peregrine.
Yes, very nice. I don't know what to say about our robot.
We just presented to the judges yesterday. You'd think they'd know what to say about the robot.
So is it front feeding and back shooting, or is it front feeding and front shooting?
Yeah, we're pass through. It comes out on this side.
Got it.
And is not at a good enough angle to reach the high goal, but I have a feeling it would be hard to get in there anyway, so we're pretty happy with the mid goal at the moment. We did do a cool kind of intake that is 2 wheels, and we just stretched rubber bands between them, because that's the best way that we found to sort of encompass the whole ring. Because we tried, like, these are just 3D printed wheels. We tried having a row of these in front, but it couldn't span as wide and it kept getting caught on the side. So that's much better with this.
Yeah, we used a rubber band intake like that a couple of years ago when we were doing blocks and balls together. I can't remember what that year was. That's actually really effective. And when it breaks, it's really easy to fix.
Yeah, there's a bunch of FRC robots that do the same sort of intake for the basketballs or whatever they're throwing this year.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm assuming that those yellow things are weights that hold the robot down. Is that what those are?
Yeah, they're 2-pound dumbbells.
Our robot was not weight balanced, and the front wheels had absolutely no traction.
It was hilarious.
Dude, that is the best.
But it made for a really great Instagram post. We were like, bro, do you even lift?
That is
We've actually had to strap dumbbells to our robot before too, so.
I think this is the first year we haven't, so.
I think,
so do you guys have a?
I was just gonna say that I think the parts of the robot that aren't really supposed to be parts of a robot are always the best parts. Like I think a few years ago we had a cutting board on to put our team name because we had no other way to put it on a robot. But you know,
we always use cutting board.
Yeah, we didn't feel like screwing this on, this support for our output. So instead we just put 2 little mini clamps, and they've been there for like a month. And honestly, I think they're probably holding it better than screws would have.
Yeah, so it's a 16-to-1 gear train there.
Oh yeah.
And it before we had the clamps on, it was really vibrating insanely. It still sounds really scary, but
what is your full gear ratio, including the gearbox on the motors?
The motor's at 20-to-1, so
we
16-to-20.
Okay. And you're launching with 2 wheels, and are those to the same motor?
Yeah, it's the same motor.
Okay. Are the rings decently stable being launched with 2 rings? I know some teams have tried to use one to get gyroscopic stabilization and spin the ring.
That's what we use. One.
We are only hitting the middle goal, so I don't think we've had to worry about that too much.
Yeah. And also, as long as it works, we don't really actually care if it goes in stably. We know where we need to aim to.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
We're a first year team. Come on, give us a break.
No, hey, you've got a robot. That's way better than half the teams out there this year. Just let that sink in. There's a lot of teams that just couldn't field, like good quality teams that couldn't field a robot. Two of the Corning teams were like, well, we have a drivetrain. And I'm like, guys, really? No. So
it helps that 2/3 of the robot team is my kids, and so it's all in the basement. So we don't have the same build issues that you do.
There is that, but then you don't get the 20 other kids who have a different idea as well, which makes it harder, I think. Which is where something like for the team tech there, that this is something where like you could start a Zoom meet and, you know, our coaching staff could come in and go, oh yeah, this is really cool. I love the weights on the front. Let me show you our 3 world-class robots that all had weights on the front. Like that's a thing that's fun. And to be able to share that is great. Like the Omni wheel design, nice and easy, nice and stable. It's great. Do you guys have a wobble goal thing at all?
I will go get the wobble goal so you can see our wobble goal delivery system.
We can't pick it up, but we can put it out. It's really funny.
Okay.
But also involves turning the robot again. So we did try to have like a little arm thing, but that failed really quickly. And it couldn't grip. So instead, I can't do this from the back.
So you can deliver an autonomous, right?
Yeah, we can just sort of swap it out.
That's perfect.
I'd love to ask you all, what do you guys think is harder, autonomous or, I can't think of the word right now.
Teleop.
Teleop, oh my God. What did you guys find harder this year, autonomous or teleop?
I think teleop would be easier if the robot would drive straight. And autonomous would also be easier if the robot would drive straight. So
yeah, that's our goal for the next tournament is getting the IMU code working right.
We use very similar Omni wheel system, which drive perfectly straight all of last year until the Corning qualifier. Something in transit happened to it, and it has not driven straight since.
It was beautiful in Corning, though. I was there. You were there. It was fun.
I'm talking about this past season, not the season before.
Oh, well, sorry. Yeah. The other robot was good. So there's a lot of things that can make your Omni wheels go wonky, and it's probably has to do with the weighting on the wheels. That would be something to think about, like finding out whether it's a 1.5 pound weight would be better than a 2 pound weight to get the. And it's simple. You could just do some stuff with soup cans, which is what we did. Put the soup can on, and just add 0.5 gram or 0.5 pound every time, and try that. It's actually pretty kind of good. Technicon, do you guys have a delivery system for your wobble goal? We didn't get a chance to see that.
We can show the last match on YouTube. We have it on YouTube, so we can play that.
Yeah, so you guys can keep discussing. I'm gonna hook it up and like share my screen so you guys can see our YouTube video.
Okay, cool.
One thing that we've struggled with in the past is generally it's easy to focus on whatever the, I guess I would say the flashy, what would you say?
High scoring, cool thing.
Not high scoring, but whatever the like scoring minimals in rockets or throwing rings this year, whatever sort of the, I would say not mission. This isn't legally, but I'll say flashy mission.
Yeah.
And we
They're not always
focus
the
on
ones that
that,
score.
and then we would run out of time for the high scoring autonomous and end game stuff, which is generally where the easiest points actually are. So we've reversed that this year, and now we focused first on autonomous and end game, and we can sort of do wobble goals now, but we cannot shoot rings. So we have the opposite problem, but maybe it's a better problem at least. I don't know.
So Isaiah, when we went to Eastern Super Regionals, not the last time, but the time before that, we had a 220 point every game. We scored it. If we hit the field, we got 220 points, but we just sat during teleop. That's it. We did nothing. We didn't handle it was the year that you had to climb up. I can't remember what that year was called.
Rescue.
But because we didn't have flashy handling of like throwing balls in the thing, there were robots that scored like 50 points. They had no autonomous, they had no end game. And like, why aren't you picking us for an alliance partner? This is like the best. And we were just so frustrated because literally Wizards EXE, who won that one, they came up to us and they were like, you should be going to Worlds with that robot. And we're like, thanks for picking us. Not, it's like, well, so yeah, flashy is good sometimes.
Okay, we're gonna share. We shared our screen with our YouTube video. Hopefully, you guys can see it. It's our full game.
Oh.
Ooh, nice.
We're using a road runner to figure out where our location is. We are trying to collect more of those rings, but currently we're able to do it.
Wow. Okay, that's really impressive.
We're pretty consistent. But it's really a little bit struggling because of, I think, kids needs to get more and more training on the driving. They didn't have that much driving because of remote sessions and all that stuff, right? But the end game, we'll always focus on the end game because
That's great that you've got that already on the robot, so you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh, your shooter's really nice too.
When it wants to be nice, it's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent, but I think in the practice, more and more practice, they need to be like to collect fast. So we have 3 different reels. So one is bringing in, collecting the ring, and then one is pretty high speed.
That shooter is sweet. Have you guys checked the 16-foot rule with yours?
18.
No, the 16-foot rule where it's got to hit the ground before 16 feet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the overall weight. Yeah.
We had ours running so hot when we actually checked it. There's about 100 feet in our building, and it hit the back door. We're like, okay, I think it's a little hot. I think we gotta fix that a little bit.
I did like that video on your Facebook page.
Yeah, I was like, we've fixed it since then, but it was burned. And actually, that oops, it was really consistent when it would hit that high goal every time from anywhere on the field, like not a problem, but yeah, a little bit illegal.
Well, it's a good problem to have, not terribly hard to fix compared to what other problems would be.
Ooh, except that we lost power shots after that. So, so I could show you here. Let me just show you one of ours here. If I can screen share, you'll tell me if I can't.
And Technion, can you?
I would love to. I think everyone should be able to screen share. I allowed multiple participants. Also, just to time check, I think the meeting should go on for as long as we need, but it is 2:50. So
okay,
in case it cuts out, we can join the same link if we want to or whatever. But yeah.
Okay. Team Technion, can you put a link to your YouTube page in the chat so that I can?
Oh yeah, that.
Yes, we'll put our YouTube link in the chat, and we'll also keep our Instagram handle in the chat. So make sure you follow us so we can stay in contact for any other events, maybe at the end of the season, or maybe like in the summertime or sometime before the next season starts.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have another meeting and we can have other teams join us too. Now just spread the
Yeah,
love.
actually, if we all shared our friends and we all jumped in the same meeting, and if you need, like, I don't know if you're, like, I have a school account, which means I have an unlimited Zoom. So it's not going to cut off after an hour. So if you needed a link opened someday, I could do that for you. Let me just, my kids are proud of this, so I'm going to just share a little bit. Our autonomous is not as good as yours, but so we do that in park, and then it's just wait. So I'm going to move ahead.
Yeah.
So we have two handling systems for our wobble goal, one in the beginning and then one at the end, because we didn't want to make an arm. We wanted to use a lift because we wanted to teach the freshmen how to make a lift. Because I'm an evil coach. So then I'll just show you the end game thing. I don't know if they do it or the power shots in here.
Oh, that's an interesting way of doing it.
And that's our game.
That's amazing.
So the reason why it's so long is because they figured the wobble of the goal and how long, like we made freshmen do the calculations of how much will it move and how much do you have to have it so that it'll never wobble off. So, but mostly because I had to have something for my freshmen to be doing when they weren't in the room. Like, I'm evil, I have to admit. So.
But they must be super great at building then. I'm sure when they're seniors, they're going to be.
Yeah,
great.
like maybe Wizards, we could beat them once. Just I want to do it just once. Or Brainstem, just one of the Brainstem teams. Like,
Wow,
just,
yeah. It's really awesome.
or even Geared Up, just for the reasons.
I'm pretty sure you beat Geared Up.
Yeah, but they always walk away with the banner. That's the thing. They always walk away with the banner. They have the banner every time. And it's just not fair. Like, Enderbots has been a team for like a long time, and we don't have one of those nice banners.
There was no banner last year.
I know, it's quite sad. We had the perfect robot last year. We built our robot just for that thing. And we were like, this is the robot. This is the one. We're going to beat Gears Up. Chomper's the one who do it. Because we were winning Alliance everywhere we played. And then we built this like way better robot. And then they canceled it right before.
I know, they canceled it like 1 week before the regional.
It was heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking.
As a member of Geared Up at the time, you were going to beat Geared Up.
Yeah, well.
I think I forgot to invite Geared Up to this meeting today. I was going to do that, but.
Well, we should plan another meeting like next month or after all these other ones, because honestly, I'd love to see how much we move on in 1 month.
I could you do that? Could you set that
I would
up
love
again?
to. Yeah, and I'll try to get some other teams from out of the area. I don't know. I'm just like a rookie at getting these teams from out of states. So on my Instagram page, I just DM'd all these random teams and I was seeing if they would be interested. And I got one yes. Isaiah, I got one yes, and we've got this event, and that's great. But I'll try to get some other teams too.
Yeah, and if you put it on with a shareable link on Twitter or Instagram, we'll just share it.
That sounds great.
You can have 100 teams in a room, so the heck, I'm in. All right, well, I gotta go. because we have to
Yes,
get
1 second.
closing
Before everyone
ceremony.
leaves, I would just like to thank everybody. Thank you all for coming. I want to post about this on our Instagram page. So if you guys have Instagram, could you put it in the chat so I can tag you guys? And again, thank you so much for joining us. We all learned a lot. I hope you guys had a good meeting too. So, yeah. Oh, and thank you, Isaiah, one more time. He really helped me pull this whole
Yay.
thing off. Please.
Very well.
Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you,
Thank you,
Team
Isaiah.
Technion.
And
Bye.
what is our Instagram? I don't even know what my Instagram thing is. I think it's Enderbots 5484. Oh well. Cool. See you
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Good job, by the way.
Okay, I put the Instagram in the chat.
Thank you so much, Isaiah. Really.
You're very welcome.
Okay, and I'll post on Instagram and then I'll tag the teams that were here. So
Okay.
great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a very good meeting.